Brought to you by Lean Body, the #1 protein shake in gyms across America.
So we're going to go over two main segments, one with free weights and one with cables. And we're going to start out by going over the traditional straight bar skull crusher, which isn't necessarily a bad option, but it is an option that a lot of people tend to get elbow boo-boos with. All right, so we're going to really optimize the setup. We're going to discuss the potential problems with this movement, and then we're also going to talk about some dumbbell and cable alternatives after that.
All right, so shall we start with the first one?
Let's do it. All right, so the first exercise we're going to go over is the traditional straight bar skull crusher.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get on this bench here and get into position. All right.
So Lee's just going to go through a couple of reps here.
Okay.
And we'll kind of talk about just the execution. Is that how you sort of normally do them? I know.
That's right.
Yeah, so bar to forehead.
This is how I normally do it. I just bring the bar slowly down to the forehead, try to keep the elbows pointed straight up.
Yep, yep.
You know, and sometimes it agitates that tricep tendon on the back side of the arm.
Right. Something that's going to be really important to sort of recognize is that, much like Lee was just saying, is he's going to kind of really work to force his elbows that way. And the reason that he's got to try to force himself to do that is because this is a free weight, which means that it's basically just as per the name of the motion, it's trying to crush his skull, right? And so what that means is that if our forearms and our upper arms are not sort of aligned with that resistance, parallel to that resistance, it might be a little bit difficult for him to actually manage that from the perspective of the elbow, because the elbow is a hinge joint. It only moves in one direction. So unlike the shoulder, it's not going to be able to rotate particularly well. So a really cool sort of way to think about this is if I take this bar from Lee's hand, Lee, just for me, do that same exact motion now, just without the bar.
Okay.
So what you'll notice is that naturally, without any weight, watch kind of what happens to the direction of Lee's elbows, right? They kind of almost want to point outward. So if you weren't kind of forcing your elbows in this position, you might say that you would be a little bit more comfortable maybe to sort of move inward and outward, right? And so what happens at this point is the hands, what you'll notice is they come down to the forehead, but then they extend outward over the shoulders. But when you fix your hands to this kind of a bar, right, this resistance isn't actually able to traverse in the direction that his forearms are moving. So a better alternative as compared to the fixed bar motion might be dumbbells. Again, if you're comfortable with the fixed bar, nothing wrong with that. But if you have a little bit of discomfort there, a step in the right direction might be to choose dumbbells. So Lee's just basically going to go through what is a little bit more comfortable for him. And already what you can notice is he's able to actually bring the weights to a place where not only does he actually get more range of motion at the elbow, potentially a little bit more stimulus for the triceps, but he's also able to take them a little bit more freely wherever he wants to. And so again, what that might allow him to do is to load his elbow in a direction that it's more comfortable moving.
You know, that really stretched position at the bottom is so important. You know, all the research is showing that there's a lot of growth that comes, you know, from resistance under stretching.
Yeah, absolutely. So if Lee comes down to that position, because he has his arm in this position, like he said, he can load that stretch position. A lot of guys, however, will pull their arms way overhead, and they'll get to the point where now the hand is actually sitting directly underneath the elbow. So although you're kind of stretching your shoulder in this particular case, like lats, maybe some pecs in there, right? The dumbbell being underneath of the elbow actually means that the stretch is unloaded, which may feel a little bit better on the elbows, but in terms of the tricep stimulus, might not be ideal. So again, that's a great point, which is that bringing the elbows just a little bit forward will actually allow you to load that bottom end of the range as compared to dropping them all the way back here.
That's an excellent point, Ben.
Thanks.
Seriously, that was really good. I like that.
All right, so if the 2-arm dumbbell doesn't feel great for you, here's another version of this exercise that may be the most sort of liberating for your elbow, again, if you have those elbow boo-boos going on.